to the Slaying Self-Doubt YouTube channel. Here is where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to walk into their God-given purpose. How do we do that, you ask? Well, we create safe and brave spaces just like this for Black women to show up authentically as themselves. So join me and sometimes some of my friends or our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I am Coach Felicia, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self Doubt Podcast. I am here with Shayla Varnado from Black Girls Wine. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl.
So,
Hey.
first of all, this is sometimes the Lord just works in the way they works, right? So I've been following you for like forever,
Really?
because I really like I be stalking people, just like, okay, you know what? I want to get connected. I want to figure, and you know how like once you start following people, it's like the algorithm be doing whatever it want to do. Then people like disappear and then you forget. So it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So then they pop back up, right? So you all
Yeah.
know that I posted something. Oh gosh, I don't even remember now. Early part of this year on Threads to ask people if they wanted to be a part of the show, and Shayla said yes. And I promise you, when I opened this up today, I did not realize that you were the same Shayla. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's Black Girls.
Yes.
And so I was like, I've been stalking this lady for forever. And who knew? Like, I didn't even know when you signed up that you were you. So I am more excited about this interview than you probably even know. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. So before we get started, okay, so Shayla, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Yes. So I a little bit about myself. First of all, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're
Second of
welcome. You're
all,
welcome.
have always felt a tug for entrepreneurship since my very first job.
Mm,
I love fashion, love retail, and I really love styling women. So I founded ALYAHS Consulting and my styling business back in 2011. I realized eventually that I wanted to help style the everyday woman, and the everyday woman does not have a budget for a stylist. And so I was like, all right, I'm
facts.
gonna back up from this. Listen, I was like, I'm gonna back up from this because this is not necessarily what I think this is not how God wants to use me in this arena. So I'm
Mm,
gonna give it a second.
yeah.
And so I shut down my styling business, kept running Alias. I've always been consulting with small businesses and brands.
Okay.
It's what I love. I'm really good at marketing, and strategy is like my strong point when it comes to brand building. And so, as I was continuing doing my consulting, I got a phone call from a girlfriend who was like, "Hey, you want to sell wine?"
Oop,
And in my mind, very transparently, I was like, "Do I want to sell wine and work for another white company?" Because at the time I was in corporate. And I was like, I
right.
don't want to work for another white company. If I'm going to do anything on the side, it'll be to work for myself.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking around the wine industry and I'm like, ain't nobody talking to black people. Like, so
No.
like I know all my experience and growth through wine was through my friends who were older than me that I met in the workplace that were like, hey girl, get us pick up a bottle of this. And I'm like, what is she talking about?
Right.
Right. And so my palate grew from drinking with friends. So I'm like, I know black women like wine. Why is no one talking to black women about
Yeah.
wine? And so Black Girls Wine was born in 2016.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. So it's so interesting, right? Because I didn't even know you did the consulting thing. Like I said, I've been stalking you for a while. And so
Yeah.
I've watched like, oh, like you've done some lives, you've done some openings, you've done some like I've watched the reels, the lives, the stuff, just like because you don't know and nobody is talking about it, right? Like you drink first of all, you got to know which one you like and which one you don't like. And then it's like when you try it, it's like, does it matter the price? Maybe it do. I don't know. Like what this tastes like. I don't, you know what I mean? And so like, as I've gotten older and been like, oh, I definitely know I'm not, I don't drink white wine. It gives me a headache immediately. And
Oh.
so, but when I see people like, people just look like they enjoy it, but for me, it's not for me. Right. But
Mhm.
also, like I said, just that, like you said, the conversation is just not happening. Even for some of my
Mhm.
girlfriends, like we're not drinking it. They don't like the way it tastes. They've never had it, but it's just like there's people out there. And so I'm watching this thing like, no, there's people out there, right? So thank you. Okay. Because when we get into that, then we can get into it. But I want to
Yeah.
know like one of the things that you said was about the fact that you've had to pivot kind of
Mhm.
multiple times, right? With the styling business and then transitioning. So how has that been like pivoting? Because those are really, I mean, I would have it that everything is connected. I know everything is connected, right? But they're three different industries, completely
Let me
different.
tell you something. Let me tell you something. Pivoting is one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
especially when you are building a business and it is not a legacy business, or you aren't coming
Mm,
from a legacy of successful entrepreneurs, right?
yeah.
A lot of us, our moms, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our parents did stuff on the side all the time, right? It was
Facts.
to not just make ends meet, but then also to go above and beyond. My mom was a hustler. She always had a side hustle and she was
Yeah.
very successful at them, right? And so, but when you're building yourself and your family hasn't had that empire
Mm-hmm.
level of expansion, you're gonna have a lot of pivots as
It,
you grow.
facts.
And whether it
Yes.
be from business to business. And so every pivot was more frustrating than the last, if I'm being honest. Like when I had to shut down my styling business, I felt like I was so disappointed. Like I went to college and majored in fashion, and I knew
Mm,
I'm like, God, I know this is what you call me to. Like this is my thing. It's always been my thing. Like
yeah.
I was like, I just feel like this should be so much more. And I had to put that down.
Mm.
I was running Black Girls Wine and I had launched Black Girls Wine Society. And then I got pregnant. They told me I couldn't have kids. Okay.
Wow.
So
Come
this whole
on.
pregnancy in 2021 was like, what you mean?
Right.
What you mean? Y'all say it. Y'all say it. Right. And so that was even like a what in the world? And eventually I shut the society down because I couldn't run the society and juggle this 9 month old. Like it
Yeah.
just wasn't, and nobody wanted to step up. So it was a big, like, another
Mm.
big transition, another big pivot.
Yeah.
And so for me, one thing that I am learning, because I didn't always have this, I didn't grasp this concept. Even a few years ago after having a baby, I did not grasp the concept. But one thing I'm learning is the grace. I'm learning to look for the grace in every
Mm-hmm.
pivot. And I'm learning to look for what God is doing, since his will is going to clearly supersede mine,
Every time.
to make sure I am clear and listening for what it is that he's trying to do in each new season. And
Yeah.
I think I will say that every pivot has led to something more successful than the last. So
Mm-hmm.
at this point, I'm like, okay, God, clearly I'm on this journey and it's epic. So wherever we're going next, I'm in
Yeah.
alignment with. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was hard. It's
I
ghetto. It's ghetto
I
on the pivot.
it do it really do be ghetto. And I resonate with that resonates with me because it's like I really am at this place now. And so my audience knows my story of transitioning into entrepreneurship wasn't my thing. Definitely was a God thing. Being in this space and being like, say what now? You want me to do what? And then to send me back into work and then it be in a different industry and be like, you want me to do? And I was having a conversation with my director, and so she asked, like, I just want to know, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I feel like that this is, what is going to be. And I said, I have learned at this point is that whatever he tell me to do, I'm gonna just do. So I can't even give you that answer because if he tell me to
I
roll
feel
out
like that's
next
such a
month,
hard
I gotta
question. Yeah.
go. Right. So I'm like,
Yep.
I
I feel
might
like that's a
say
hard question
it
to answer.
is. I'm like,
And I
and I
don't, it's not realistic to
it
me.
really
Like,
I don't it
do we have big dreams? We could
right.
dream,
Yes, yes.
but
I'm
I
like,
don't know what God gonna do.
I have no idea. And I was like, this is the most honest. I said, what I can tell you for sure is at least for the next 8 years I'll be here because I need to pay for my kids to get through school. So that's a priority to me. I said, but then after that, if the Lord shifts me, I have no idea. I'm like, I just have been in a
Mm,
space of you just go like this on a consistent basis. You be like,
child.
sir, can you just please just put me down somewhere and
Listen, like
just
God,
let
what we
me
doing? What we doing? What we
it just
doing?
it be but I understand that of just like finding that grace in the space and learning from the lessons, right? And knowing that every time that there is a pivot, there's growth in it, right? And like you
Yep.
said, that's it is anybody who gets it the first time around, my hats go
God
off
bless
to
them.
you. But
It's a level of acceptance that I think
yes.
can be hard too. That the more God pivots your life, the more you're like, oh my gosh, like you really gotta work on that, staying in that place of gratitude and
Yes.
staying in that place of like believing, right, in the things
Mm-hmm.
that that you hope for, because God be doing
He be
his
doing this
God
one. He
thing.
be
Look,
yeah,
he be doing his God thing.
he be doing his God thing, but also sometimes he be messing up some stuff. Just like, sir, like
Okay,
I was already going.
sir.
Could you have given me a heads up or something? Like, let me know that this is
A telegram would have been nice.
anybody.
Anything,
It's
anything.
something, okay? You could have dropped a pigeon somewhere with a note. Just let me know,
Smoke signal, do
right?
something, because
I,
these surprises, they be
yeah,
hitting me.
I don't like it. I don't like it. So,
Me either.
in the pivots and in the transition of all the different things, just from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, even in you saying like you went to school for fashion and taking the effort into doing that, how has self doubt showed up in your journey?
Oh, child.
That sounds like this about to be good, y'all.
Listen, it has shown up every step of the way. I feel like going into the wine industry, I had a lot of self doubt.
Mm,
And I got a lot of criticism from people who look like us, which only amplified the self doubt.
mm.
And even so, there are moments now, like I'm putting together a wine course, and it's going to be really different than anything else that's out there. And I still am like, can I do, can I do this? Right.
Yeah.
Getting ready to launch another brand, getting back in the fashion industry, lots of self doubt. Cause it's like,
Mm-hmm.
God, what, I know it was causing this, but what we doing though? This
Right.
different.
Yeah.
Like I ain't never run this kind of business either. So we're gonna launch a whole brand. Like we're gonna do what now?
Yeah.
Every step of the way, I think the thing that helps me work through the self doubt is knowing that God put me here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a dry house. My house is still dry. I don't come from a family that drinks.
Mm-hmm.
So being in the wine industry alone was like a,
Mm.
God, you sure you want me to be here?
Right.
My parents looked at me like, girl, what you
What
gonna do with
happened
this?
now?
Right? My husband was like, so you have how many members now? Like we served over 1,500 women in 3 years. It
Wow.
absolutely are plenty of black women that love wine, right? And I always tell people that was God. I had
Mm.
no idea, that was not on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
That was not on my, and even though I feel the self-doubt, I do talk myself out of things, sometimes for a
Because
decade
that's
at a
what we be
time.
doing,
Because
right?
that's what we be doing, right? Like I do talk myself out of things. And then there are times when I'm like, okay, God put me here, so I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah. I think
That's so
that's the realest answer, right? Like because I believe that in doing this for so long, a lot of people assume that like it's just supposed to go away, right? And I've always said that it was during an interview that or during a podcast recording session that it hit me that slaying was an action, right? And it's a continuous action. It's not like you slayed yourself
it
down. That
keeps
would mean
going.
it just keeps going. And so every time I think about like I always say it's personal to me because it is me. When you see me showing up,
Mhm.
it is me slaying myself down in an interview, in whether I'm, podcast. I don't care how long I've been doing it. I still get nervous talking to people. I still, if I'm doing a solo episode, do you want to hear what I have to say? Right? There's always going to be
It
some
comes so
level
natural for you though.
and people say that and I'd be like if you
Yeah.
saw my sweat glands you would be hey girl calm down, right? But I think that anything that excites you, anything that you're
Yeah.
making an impact, if you are not feeling some type of like nervousness, do you even care, right? Like that's where I at this point that is where I'm
Do
at,
you
like do
care,
you
and will it
even care
last?
and will it last, right? And so
Mhm.
I think that saying that, I mean, I know there's plenty of days that I had put stuff off and been like, you know what? So I'm just gonna watch Chicago PD and I'm
Girl.
just going
Okay. And that's a
and
good show too. Boy be
listen, it
getting them.
is
Okay.
okay. And I'm watching the old episodes with Jay, right? Because and I will rewatch it. And at this point, like my husband knows, like, why are you watching this again? Like it's almost like what you running from? What's happening? Like what are we doing?
That's me and Grey's Anatomy. That's me and Grey's Anatomy. My husband knows, like, oh, she having a moment. She went back to season one.
Oh, that's a young Bailey right there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that young Bailey. Listen. I'm like, I need to go
That's when
back.
Richard had hair. Okay.
Okay. It's a whole different person. Whole different
Y'all
person.
see, this is
I
I
have
already knew this was
graduated.
gonna be good.
Look,
This is
yeah,
gonna be
look, I
good.
graduated from Grey's Anatomy. I got my doctorate there
Child,
at
I
Grace
be
Sloan
telling
Memorial.
people all the time, if you need a liver transplant, okay, Meredith
Listen,
Grey taught me. Okay.
I know I can do it. I can do a what you call it, a tracheotomy.
A
Oh, I'm getting
tracheotomy.
that.
Listen, a chest tube. What you
Chest
need?
tube. Oh, I got the chest
And
tube.
even, I mean, between Derek Shepherd and Amelia Shepherd, I might be able to give you a
I
lobotomy.
might be
I'm
able
sure.
to pull off when I say that is my show.
I love it. I love it. But no, I was gonna say one of the things that you said about practically dealing with the self-doubt is like knowing that
Mhm.
God placed you here. How like how did you get to that place, right? Like to be able to say, like, even if the self-doubt shows up, I'm confident in that God has me here for a reason. Because I would have it that it didn't start that way. But what have you put into practice, to make to help you reverse that self-doubt in that moment when God says, or anything comes up and you have to do something and there's some, doubt that comes up. Like how do you switch it so you move
That's
forward?
such a good question. You see my wheels turning as you
Uh-huh.
were talking. I was like, that's a really good question. Um, what I have put into practice is writing it out.
Mm.
I write it all out. And I know when it's a God idea because he will send the full picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like as a creative, it's easy to have ideas. Like you have ideas and it's like,
Every day.
oh, this is great. This is good. Like we got ideas every day when you're a
Every
creative.
day.
And the way that I have learned to differentiate between when it's just an idea, it could be for somebody else. Or if it's a God idea that he has given me, is how much of the picture that he gives me.
Mm.
Like with Black Girls Wine, I had the full picture. Everybody would be like, oh, why don't you make a wine? Why don't you have a wine club? Why don't you? And none of that ever resonated with me.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
point was the sisterhood, and that was what I was focused on.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, uh-huh. And even pivoting like the consulting to add on the agency, that was a God idea. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that was God because when I tell you, I didn't even want to continue being an entrepreneur after I had a kid. I was applying for jobs and I was getting down to final interview, VP of marketing, director of marketing, VP of digital marketing. And I mean, as a finalist, and they were always picking the person
Mm.
other than me.
Mm. 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 Mm.
And I was like, okay, God. And I heard God loud and clear when I finally was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he was like, I called you to build it. And I was just like,
Oh, that's what you want me to do.
that's that's it there. I never did that before. And then in took the self doubt. It's like I never
Yeah.
run an agency. An agency though? Like
Yeah.
you want me to have more employees? I just had 60 some women around the world running chapters with
Mm-hmm.
12 internal
Mm-hmm.
employees. Like, you want me to do this again?
Yeah.
But I know it's a God idea too because it scares me. And so anytime it's like, oh, and that's why he gives you the full picture because it does scare you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's leaning into that full picture that he gives you that it's like, okay. So I've learned to wait for the full picture. I've had lots of ideas. I've always had a desire to own my own brand, being in the fashion industry and trying to figure out how I can help the everyday woman. It has been in my heart for a decade. And God sent me the full picture this year.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And that's how I know. That's when I know to take out action, even in the
Yeah.
self doubt. Because then it's just like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Now,
never did
now
this
you know.
before.
Right. 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 Right.
I
Right.
never did this before. So, like, I'm running an agency and now you want me to do this? Like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And so for me, saying the self doubt has really been, and learning when it's a God directed change
Yeah.
is looking for the answers in the pivots.
Yeah. No, that is so good. Because I think that oftentimes people are wondering what does hearing from God, what does look like, what does it look like, right? And I've said plenty of times on
Hmm.
here that it's different for everybody, right? Like
It
you
is.
you will know, like, hey, I can say I've heard an audible voice 3 times in my entire life, and it was very clear.
Hmm.
And each
Hmm.
time, like I'm talking out loud, like be quiet. You know what I mean? Like it's just like,
Hmm.
who are you talking to? Like, because it's just that. But then there's a prompting, like, and I always uh make the example of, from Ghost when Sam was pushing the friend, right? That's what it feels like that. And then I'm like, that's a prompting. That's when I know where it's like,
Hmm.
go, right? And you be like,
Yep.
like get off me, right? But it doesn't go away. And I think that
Yeah.
the more, this would be my encouragement to anybody who's listening, the more that a lot of people hear people's stories and they're like, oh, I wish that was me. I wish I was able to hear. I think you are, but you have to lean into the way that he's talking to you. You have to lean into the
Yeah.
way the Holy Spirit is getting you. Sometimes it comes from my confirmations come from people I don't even know. It's something that I've been
Hmm.
talking to God about, and then a person will say something to me and be like, uh, and in my spirit, I already know this the last time he gonna tell you, okay?
Okay.
This
Yep.
it. This the last time he
I
gonna tell
get
you because
that, and I
you
love
already know.
right. Exactly. That's usually when I'm like, okay, God, fine, all right,
And then you
I'm
be
gonna do
mad at
it.
the person. They don't even know why you mad. It's just like because he just you sent me a message through you,
He
and
sent
then
you the reminder that I needed.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
But I think that takes practice as well too, right? To know the voice,
It
to know
does.
the difference between what you think and what he's saying, right? And I've shared on here that
Yes.
when God told me to leave my job, literally the only thing I heard was it's time to go. I added on so many different things, like, okay, this one I'm gonna leave, this, blah, 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 blah. And then when it all hit, like, now ain't nobody tell you to do all of that. I'm looking up like what you had said. And then it was just like, but what did you say after I said that? Because you added the rest of it, right?
Mm.
And then it was like, oh, you're right. I did add more to that. So let me go ahead and mind my business, right? Until it's time to do the next thing. So
Until it's
I
time.
appreciate you saying, like, sometimes you just have to wait. Even if he gives you
Hmm.
something, what's the full thing? What's the thing?
Oh
And
yeah.
you need to be able to move. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's really, really good. So, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
Oh, such a good interviewer.
I know. Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Great
much.
question. I would say I have learned that I am a lot more resilient than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, that I'm good with money. The money story that I took into adulthood was like, oh, you're not necessarily great with money and blah blah blah. And that's a lie.
Mm,
I am good
mm,
with money.
mm.
My company made almost 7 figures and I had full employees on staff. I am good with money.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so I've learned that I have no limits.
Mm.
I am the only person who can get in the way and impede my capacity from expanding.
Oh,
And so my goal is to stay out of God's way and stay out of my own way because I don't have limits.
I don't know if that blessed anybody else, but just that. First of all, we about to break this down, okay? One, I appreciate the affirmation that you gave yourself in this moment that I am good with money, right? Because I told
Mhm.
myself a story that I told my hold on, because I'm gonna have to edit. Okay. I told myself now I'm gonna have to go back. What did I say right before that?
The affirmation that I am
Oh,
good with
okay,
money. I
okay.
told myself this story.
Okay. So let me back up. So I appreciate the affirmation, right? That I am good with money because you were telling
Mhm.
yourself this story. And that's a part of self-doubt, right? We're telling ourselves a story. And until
Mhm.
we are able to put feelings against facts, because
Mhm.
that's what that's
Yeah.
how you affirmed it and said, no, this is I'm gonna tell you why it's true. Because my company
Mhm.
made 7 figures and I had these, I am good with money, right? And so that's an
Mhm.
encouragement to you all that, like, say the affirmation and then find proof. It's there,
Mhm.
right? Find the proof to say, and then if you are unsure or if you need to find, like, the proof is there, right? So I appreciate
Yep.
that part in that. I am the other part about being resilient. I'm seeing on here more and more um Black women are saying they are resilient versus being strong, right? Because those are
Oh
two
yeah.
different things, right? And so
Yeah. I'm not strong. I need
yeah,
my husband. I need my
right.
mama. I need my best friend. I need everybody. I'm the strong is not something I ever need to
Listen, no,
carry.
thank you. We don't want that, right?
I'm good.
Yeah, but that because it's always this like it sounded good, right? Or it sounded
Hmm.
like there's something we should be proud. No, 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 no. I don't want to be strong. I want to
Hmm.
resilient is meaning it means I can handle what's going to come because more things are going to come.
Yes.
Strength means I'm gonna take it. I don't want to take everything on the
Hmm.
chin. No, thank you.
Mm-mm.
I'm all right, right? Um,
Resilient means even if I can't handle it, I will always bounce back.
yes.
That's the importance of resilience versus strength because you end up feeling a whole lot more broken if you lean into your strength and not on your resilience.
They she just preached, Joe. Okay, lean into your resilience. And then
Listen,
you said um to trusting God and trusting yourself, right? And like following
yep,
what
I have
he
no
said.
limits.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what you said. I
Hmm.
have no limits, right? And the only limits is what I put on myself. And I think that
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say I think I know that that is the thing that stops us from living in our most authentic selves, living in our greatness, is the limits we put on ourselves, whether it
Yep.
be the self doubt, whether it be the insecurity, whether it be, you said early on, like I started this brand and being coming from a dry house and then having other women who look like me be like, girl, what? The
Hmm.
things that you think that are going to surround you and things that are going to embrace you and be like, yes, go. When all that stuff happens, it'd be like, okay, so now, Lord, you making me go out here alone, right?
Hmm.
I'm about to walk on this
I'm by
water
myself
by
on this.
myself, right? Um,
Yep.
but trusting him and knowing that whatever is supposed to be, right, he got you, right? And so I think that man, that is I know that that is a feeling, a knowing that is like you got to know that in your soul.
And it's a knowing in my soul, and it's also like even leaning into the word. You said walking on water, and I just think about that example when Jesus is like, come to me, and
Mm-hmm.
Peter goes out on the water, and it was in the moment that he started looking around and took his eyes off God that he started to sink. And it's just like imagine how far we can. He started putting limits on himself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Imagine how much further we can go with God, to
Yeah.
God, toward the vision and what He has, if we don't limit ourselves.
Mm.
Yes, I may not know how to do this. I didn't know about wine either. And now I have my level
Yeah.
2 certification from WSET, right? Yes, I may not have ever run an agency, but I got clients. People like my perspective. They want my strategic mind.
Yeah.
This is going to grow and be successful, right?
Yeah.
And just talking myself through every step of it, it is oftentimes in the not knowing that God is able to guide. And so
Yes.
it's okay to not know what the next step is, but you got to take the limits off so God can be able to do the work.
Yeah, that come on, y'all. Shoot. Pass the collection plate this way. All right. To
Literally.
your to your left, to your left, to your left, whichever direction, okay? No, you just that is a word right there because you are absolutely right. There's so many things that don't get birthed because we're afraid to do the scary thing, right? We are afraid to do some of it is just the work, right? Of what it looks like.
I
And
was gonna
off
say some of it really is just the work.
it is
You'll be
just the
like,
work.
I don't know if I want to do that.
I don't know if I want to do that. And I think it's a matter of, I always say that whatever it is that like our purpose is connected to other people. And until you start doing the work is when you start seeing what your impact is, right? There's plenty of times in this journey that I have wanted to be like, well, I don't want to keep doing this, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm okay. I have there are other competing priorities, right? I have a family,
Hmm.
there's transitions in my kids going from, I started they weren't necessarily toddlers, but they were younger, right? Elementary school. And now I'm about to have two high schoolers. Like my life is changing at the same time, right? Throughout this journey. And so it's like, well, do I still have, but I understand the impact, right? When people are saying,
Hmm.
hey, I want you to come speak it. And I'm still like, me? Like, why? But these are the things, but because I know
Listen.
I'm slaying self doubt, it's like it's natural. At the end of the day, I'm gonna always question it, but I'm still gonna do it because I know that ultimately what the Lord has for me is for me. And it's on the other side of
Hmm.
my fear. It's on the other side
Yep.
of the thing that I'm afraid of and the thing that makes me uncomfortable. But that's where the growth is, right? And I always
Hmm.
say if you ain't growing, you dying. So I rather the goal is old.
That part.
If the goal is
I love
old, I'm
that.
gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna
Listen,
keep it moving.
The goal is old. And, when it comes to giving God that room, giving him that runway, the what God has for you is usually always on the other side of a valley.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
Always.
Oh, every single time. And we always say, it had to happen, right? Those things had
Uh,
to happen in order for, like, this is why now I always say there's some things I wish I could have done differently, but I have zero regrets
I
because
just
if
said
I
that this morning.
this see,
Mhm.
look at the Lord, this confirmation right there. Okay.
I just said
Because
that this
if
morning.
I regretted it, I would not be here. That would mean I wouldn't want to
Hmm.
do it. So no, at the end of the day, every single thing, good, bad, or indifferent, led me right here. And so I'm just like, there's no way I could be like, I wish that didn't happen. Well, I know now the things that happened after that thing happened. So it all had to happen, right? And so, but
It
that comes with
does.
maturity, age, time, and
No.
just live a little
It
bit, okay?
helps to birth the woman that is going to be able to handle what it is that we're praying
Come
for.
on, because it's not done. Because even in these pivots and
No.
these transitions, there is more life, right? And there's more. I say at every level, the self doubt will show up in a different way, right? And so this is the
Yeah.
practice. This is the practice arena, okay? This is where AI was not trying to be at that day. Okay, we know he had some stuff going on, but when we was talking about practice, he is preparing you for what's to
Exactly.
come, right? And so you got to do the work here. So when you get the thing that you're hoping for, that you're dreaming for, that you desire, you can handle it. Because if you can't handle
Exactly.
this at this level, baby, what you ain't about to do is embarrass him. Okay.
When I say, and I just heard somebody else preach that too, and she was just like, the some of y'all praying for, you ain't even ready for it. God ain't gonna bless you till he know you can handle it. And it's so true.
Absolutely
Like,
not.
he ain't gonna have you out here embarrassing him. You trying to be a millionaire and
And,
you can't even
and then you
what?
gonna you gonna
Mm-mm.
put his name on it. He like, not on my watch. Not on my
Mm-mm.
watch.
Not on my watch.
Okay, so Shayla, let us talk about the consulting agency and Black Girl
Yeah.
Wine. I want to do both. So I know that there's probably people in our audience who could use your services for in the consulting
Yeah.
arena. And then there's probably some of us, including myself, who was interested in the Black Girls Wine and what you have to offer. And when
Yeah.
you said the society, I was like, oh yeah, you did have a society because I remember being like, Richmond's not that far from PG County, and there's other things that are
Yeah.
happening, and like I said, the algorithm just you disappeared, and then
Look,
the internet gonna do what the internet gonna do, all right. But the Lord
child,
probably
that
knew, girl, you ain't need to be right. You had stuff you needed to be doing because you would have been distracted. I would have been like, Babu, I'm going on another on another adventure to another vineyard. Okay.
listen.
Um, so let's talk about the consultant agency first. So what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you offer? Um, we'll start there.
Yeah. So ALYAHS Consulting, we are a digital marketing agency and we specialize in helping brands and businesses expand their digital empire and footprint. So we do email marketing, we do social media management, we do influencer marketing consulting. So that is helping brands determine what influencers are a good fit and then
Mm,
creating custom campaign guides for every single brand so
wow.
that it makes the experience between the brand and the influencer much more connected. um and it
Wow.
helps to bring the big why together for the
Hmm.
influencer and for the brand. Because of Black Girls Wine, I've done a lot of influencer work just building my platform, and I just noticed a big hole in the marketplace there because brands are like, hey, we'll pay you five figures to do this, and then there's so much back and forth, it becomes more of a headache than anything
Yeah.
because they don't know what they want. They aren't clear on their strategy. They have no idea what kind of content they want, but then they don't want what you create. And it's
Right.
like a whole thing. So we specialize in that. And then we help brands and businesses every day create great social media content and email marketing that converts.
I love that. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about so you said it right first. You when you were talking about the agency and how it didn't there the connector piece was that you were doing the influencing in the Black Girls Wine. And so I'm gonna do this for y'all if you didn't catch it. That is how we got to the
Mm-hmm.
consulting agency, because she
Yep.
was already doing the work, right? And so
Yeah.
when you're doing the work, it's easier for God to be like, okay, you ready now, right? To
Yep.
now build the next thing.
Yep.
So something that you said, and I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. You help the business or the influencer?
Both. So with the
Um,
campaign guides that we create, it's a big help for both. Having been the influencer,
mm-hmm. Right,
I thoroughly understand when they say, "Hey, can you do this?" And it's like the brief is just basically these are our brand colors and this is what you
mm-hmm.
can say and can't say. It doesn't tell me anything about this campaign. It doesn't
Right.
tell me anything about the goals for the campaign. It doesn't give me any ideas for the direction you want for the campaign. And so what we do is we help the brand work through that before it gets to the influencer. So
Okay.
now it's not like, oh, we want to do this campaign. We're going to hire you. We're going to pay you $10,000 and we want you to create this content. But then you spend the next 30 days and they hate all your videos. It's
Right.
because there was clarity missing from the very beginning. And
Okay.
so we help to provide that clarity to the influencer and provide that support to the brands and businesses hiring influencers.
Oh, okay, okay. See, I knew I heard both, and then I was like, well, how do that work
Mm-hmm.
if you? But
Yeah. It
I
ends
can,
up being very beneficial for both. The brands hire us to do it. Like when we're not doing social media marketing and email marketing, brands hire us and that's what we are. That's what we do. We are
yeah.
that in between. We're that connection that
Mm-hmm.
help make everything make sense for brands and influencers.
Oh, that is nice. That's nice. And so I would have it that then what you are doing is so is the influencer, because I'm thinking to myself, like, whoever's listening, if an influencer is listening that wants to maybe work with certain brands, so this
Mhm.
what you do is the other side. So they wouldn't an influencer wouldn't reach out to you to try to get connected to brands. Okay. But if there is a brand who is looking for influencers, they will reach out to you. You would
Yep.
create whatever the campaign is, and then the influencers
They
get the
created.
guide that you
Yep.
create. Okay. Do you go
Yep.
back and are you in the next step process of deciding what uh whatever their videos are, whatever their
We will
camp
absolutely provide support for that. We'll
okay.
provide support for that too. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. I'm a creative director on the inside.
Ah,
So I'm
yes.
here to help. Like, girl, no, you need to wear this color, this,
Right, yeah.
do
Don't do
this, do
that.
that. So I'm really, and the stylist in me is like, oh girl, you need to do this. The brand's
Yes.
gonna love this. So yeah, we can do all of that. They can keep us
Oh,
on
that's
throughout the
so
entire
nice.
campaign and we'll provide support to the brands and the influencers, or they might just hire us for the campaign guide because a lot of times that's the big piece
Yeah.
that's missing in the
Yeah,
influencer
yeah.
industry is that there's not enough clarity. And to be clear, most people running marketing departments at all of these companies that can afford to hire influencers have never done it themselves. And most of them
Mm,
are not active enough on social media to even begin to understand the magnitude of what they're asking
yeah.
and to be able to understand the impact that certain things have when it comes to digital marketing because it's not the same as traditional marketing,
Right,
but
yeah.
they hire traditional marketers for these roles. So it's a little different. And so, and we, because we do digital marketing every day, social media
Mm-hmm.
management and all that, we are knee deep in everything that's working, what's not working, and brands can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
So we end up being like that lifeline for them and that lifeline for the influencer because now they don't have to wonder like, oh, they
Right.
hired me and this is everything that I need to do. Boom,
And
I'm
it's
ready.
easier for me to do. And I'm sure for them, it builds their portfolio. It's a better
Mhm.
portfolio to be able to be built in whether or not they want to reuse that person again or whatever the case
Yep.
may be. Okay, then y'all. So y'all businesses that are on here who are looking for influencers and you realizing that your campaign is not good.
Right. Or you haven't hired well, or the last few were terrible.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, it's not the influencer, it's the brand.
Ooh, she told you.
Listen,
It's you. You're the problem.
I love you guys though. I love you
Yeah,
guys. I'm
I
just being
mean,
honest. What?
but sometimes you need to have it. It needs to be straight with no chaser, right? And you just need to,
Listen.
and that's okay. Like that's the only way you build in anything is by knowing that, like, I mean, that's cute and all, but no, that's not gonna cut it. Especially because marketing is changing
It really is.
so often, like daily, right? So whatever
Yes.
worked last time didn't. I remember when everything transitioned from static photos to videos, and like everybody's like,
It
"I'm
was
not
like a whole
creating a
thing.
reel," blah blah blah. And now I can't find a
Everybody.
static photo. Okay, like
Ever. Ever.
Where's the video? Where is the static photo? And then you feel weird just doing the video. Then I'm like, then you add music to it to make it seem like try to jazz it up a little bit.
It's a whole thing.
It's a
It's a whole
whole thing.
thing.
So Black Girls Wine. This is why we're here, ladies.
Listen,
This is why we're here.
this
So
is why she's really
yes,
here.
this is why she's here. Um, let's talk about it, okay?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that so you transitioned or you built that brand because why?
I wanted Black women to have a space where we could come together and enjoy wine, to grow our palates, to connect with each other, to start to build a sisterhood around
Yeah.
something that we all enjoy. I think too often watching our mothers and grandmothers, there wasn't a lot of indulgence, and
Mm-hmm.
indulgence is okay, right? Whether it's seasonal, whether it's daily, whether it's weekly, whatever that looks like for you. I want to encourage Black women to indulge, whether that's in wine, whether it's in shopping, whether it's, and so that's really what the brand is about. Like it's that self care that is at the level of indulgence. Yes, I'm going to go on this wine trip
Mm-hmm.
because I deserve it. I've worked really hard. I haven't been anywhere. I've never been to a
I
wine retreat, so why not, right?
why
And
not?
so, kind of encouraging Black women, like our ancestors, they fought tooth and nail, honey, for us to be able to enjoy the lives that we have.
Listen,
And so, it's time to make the best of it.
yeah, I love it. So I even though I want to talk about it, even though I know that currently there isn't a society. But when you built the society, I know part of it was about the community. How important was that to you in building Black Girls Wine? Like, even though you wanted to create this space, but like build you, I mean, you literally say you had like people in different countries,
Yeah,
right? And
we have people in
so
different countries.
how when like when you started that, like how fast did that happen where it was just like, what now?
I took the time. So, for all the entrepreneurs out there and who may be listening, I took the time and built my audience. I started going live in 2017. I went live
Mm,
every single week, every Wednesday at 8:30. I
yes,
did that for 4 years.
I watched those.
Okay. I listen, I'm like, yay, look, thank you. So I did that for 4 years. I took my time and built my audience. And so
Mm,
when I launched, I had a built-in audience that
yeah,
was already there and like ready to go. Um, and so I launched and we launched in 2019, COVID hit in 2020, and things soared,
yeah,
right? And it was beautiful. Of course, when things grow quickly,
mm-hmm,
you miss things and things will break.
yeah,
So in that growth, there were a lot of challenges that I faced as a leader.
mm,
Um, just in navigating different relationships, different aspects of the business. Um, and there were some tough moments.
yeah,
Outside of that, it was really beautiful. I missed the community a lot. Um, I needed I at the end of the day, I just needed the help that
mm-hmm,
nobody was willing to step up and give. So I had to shut it down. But if I had had the help, it would definitely still be in existence today because I value sisterhood. Black women have always been a big part of my success and my story.
yeah,
And all I want to do is continue to create that safe space because wine is a life skill. You aren't
yes,
also just learning wine for you. When you go to important dinners, whether you're meeting clients or meeting your boss, knowing wine and knowing how to articulate that language in rooms as you elevate
mm,
your level of professionalism is
mm-hmm.
really important. And so now I do that through retreats.
Yeah.
So, so
Okay. So we were trying. Oh, okay. I see that. I was going to say, because this is just the thought that popped into my head. So basically, she's saying, y'all, like it can't just be Tito's and tequila. Okay, you got to
no,
know. You got to
no,
know a little.
you gotta up that
Expand.
wine
You
game.
got yeah, up your wine game. Okay, can't just be ordering Tito's. Okay. Um. Even though I'm a Tito's girl as well, but I do understand like
I'm a
this.
brown girl,
Oh,
so
I mean, depending on what it is, I have a bourbon connoisseur here as well. So we got yeah, see,
I'm here for it.
and sometimes they use the barrels for the wine, the bourbon barrels. See,
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
be knowing, I be knowing.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so two thoughts. First, thank you for creating that space, right? And just like you said,
Yeah.
showing up for 4 years to build the community, that takes work, right? And I don't
Yeah.
think that people recognize the energy that it takes to show up on a consistent basis, right? And
It
when
takes a
you
lot.
have to pull back, it is like that's a part of you, right? I think
Yes.
oftentimes, even when I, as many times as I fought, me and the Lord would tussle about doing this podcast, I would be like, oh my gosh, like you don't understand. I have to bring 150% of myself and it's
Yeah,
draining, right? And so to
it
do
is.
that on a consistent basis, okay, that was hats off to you. That's what that was.
Thank you.
Okay.
Listen, it was a big thing, and I didn't realize how big it was until later. Like when I got pregnant, I stopped going live because it was just like I'm not gonna drink. And
Right. So what's the
ever since
point?
then, it's like now that my life is so different, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
the energy I was able to give, I don't necessarily have at the end of the day, and I can't go
Yeah.
live during the day. So I
Right.
really have spent the last couple of years just kind of navigating what my next steps will be for connecting with Black women over
Mm-hmm.
wine. I think it's gonna have to be YouTube. But then
Uh-huh.
I can guarantee like a show up. Like then I can
Right.
actually be there. So I'm looking at expanding it, but you're right. Like it was a lot. There were some
Yeah.
weeks that I did not want to do it. Like, especially if it happened to be a night that my husband was off, because my husband used to work nights, that he was off or something. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, not
Right.
tonight. I want to be
Yeah.
with my man.
Right, exactly. I know, I
But
understand, but the showing up is I don't think that people understand as entrepreneurs that is the one of the most difficult parts, is showing up when you don't either feel like it or when you don't want to, right? Because that should be enough to say I don't want to. Now, what I have learned, in my journey is that in some cases, if I don't want to, that's enough, right? Like because I'm the one who has to do it, and so for me, it's like if I can't give you 100% of myself, I'm just not gonna fake it. Like
yeah,
that's
that's
gonna
why
be
I've been
worse
like
for
kind
me.
of, yep, yep. That's why I've been on ice. I don't push it. And I think that's also a part of understanding like the ebbs and flows of like what God is doing in each and every
Yes.
season.
Yep.
Cause I
Yep.
don't got it right now. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm
And that
trying to wrestle with this
and
2 year old to get him to bed at
listen,
8:30.
and
I
that
can't be
is
live.
okay. Yeah, you
So
can't do that. And you gotta know, and there's gonna be like you said, the ebbs and flows and the different transitions
mhm,
and the different pivots that you and the people who are going to be there will be there through the transitions and will be there through the pivots. And when you're there, people will understand when you come back, right?
mhm.
And you're like, hey,
Yep.
I've been gone, but this is what I've been doing. But sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I need to take care of me, right? And so
Yep.
I think that's okay too. And you said what you
Mhm.
said with the society, like if people aren't willing to step up, like I think also some of it is that you know what's for us and what God has given us, the vision that we have, it wasn't a group text, right? And so as much as we would like for other people to have the same passion and
Yeah.
desire that we have, and I think that's what some of the
And
disappointment
the
is, like
same dedication.
in the same dedication. It'd be like, so you don't really want no, because he told them to do something else. So
Yeah.
they can't
I
do
went
that
on
work
that
if they
group
don't
text.
listen.
Yeah.
Right. So but this is what you needed. So you said
Mhm.
not the society, but you never know. It may come back later on. So y'all either way stay
It might.
connected. It
That's
might.
why I say you never know. I mean,
You
we're
just
doing the retreats. I love doing the retreats. I
so that's
started
what I
doing
want to talk
those.
about, the retreat. So
Hmm.
what are
Yeah.
these? Tell me more.
Yeah. So I started doing retreats the same year that I launched the society, and I have not stopped. So I did I'm on my fifth one. The
Let's
fifth one is gonna be
go.
in South Africa. We're leaving the country for the first time, but they're always here in the
Wow.
US. They have been. So
Oh,
there, it's a weekend of wine.
okay.
You elevate your palate. We have really great food.
Mm.
We had Mamas in the Vineyard this past May, and we will have another one. So just gotta stay tuned. But
Yay.
we had Mamas in the Vineyard this past May, and it was so much fun. And one of the ladies, she was like, "This feels so indulgent," and I just love it. And I'm like, "Good, like you deserve it."
Yes.
I always do at least like a 5 course meal on that Saturday night. We do food and wine pairings. This year we had a breakfast pairing, we had dessert pairings.
Mm.
And this year I took us out of so all of my retreats were very stationary before. And this year I was like, I really want to get out of like the building. I want to begin to foster that sense of discovery when it comes to wine and Black women. So we did Charlottesville, which is in very beautiful wine region to visit
Mm.
here in Virginia. So we have over 300 wineries here, and I think probably that's where our next one will be
Oh,
after South
nice.
Africa. But South Africa is coming in March, and I'm hype about that.
Yay.
So more wine and discovery. We're just going to the bottom of the earth to do it,
Hey,
and it's
listen.
going to be really beautiful.
That is very exciting to hear, because I think the other part is that when you're discovering something new and being able to have a new experience along with it like that, I think it adds to the experience altogether.
Yeah.
And the community, because now you have something in addition to bond over.
Yeah.
And so that is dope. Like now you got me
Thank
like,
you.
right. Like let me find out about these retreats, or listen,
Yeah.
Richmond ain't but a hop, skip, and a jump from
It
PG
ain't that
County,
far. It
okay?
ain't
And
that
listen,
far.
it ain't that far, so sorry for y'all. I might just be able to be like, "Hey, Shirley, girl, what you doing?"
Yes, listen, I need these discoveries. I need content. Come look, come do content with me. We can do a whole content day.
Okay. See, easy, real, real, real easy. So
Yeah.
Shayla, before we go, how can people connect with you? How can they get connected if they want to attend the retreat, if they want to
Yeah.
work with you with the consulting agency, if they want to just
Yeah.
follow you, where can they find you in all of the things that you do?
Yeah. So Black Girls Line everywhere. Everything spelled
Period.
correctly. Black Girls Line. And then you can do Shayla Varnado or Alias Consulting. Alias is my name spelled backwards. Shayla is Shayla.
Ooh, I
So
see what you
Shayla
did
or
there.
Alias. Yeah.
Yes, I like
And they'll come
that.
up. Is
Yeah.
we always have I got some exciting things coming. So, and if you want to go to South Africa, you can DM Black Girls Wine. I will be responding. It's just me on my team of one right now. For BGW, but yeah,
That is
I
so
respond
dope.
and we can get you on the roster.
Yes. Shirley, thank you so much for sharing. I feel like this is I don't know what I thought this conversation was going to be, but it was definitely a blessing for me just to share your
Yay.
energy, to have this conversation. I really do appreciate it. I hope that whatever it is that God has in store for you, that it comes to pass and that his will be done. Cause I can already tell that you are in that place that like, okay, he said to do it. We showing up. Where
We
we
doing it.
where we
We are.
going? We just pulling up. That's it. And so thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you for
Thank you for having me.
you
This
are
was a
so
blessing. I
welcome.
love sharing space with doers, with action takers, and that's
Let's
exactly
go.
what you are. So I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I definitely will be in Richmond. Until next time, guys. See ya.
Yeah.
As always, y'all, thank you for rocking with me. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast and you find it valuable, you enjoy this channel and you find it valuable, please consider donating by buying me a coffee. Your support will help me to create new content, get an official podcast studio, and ultimately reach more people. That's what we need. We need more people on this movement. Okay. If you're not already signed up to the newsletter, go to my website, www.slayingselfdoubt.com, and sign up for the Slayer Nation newsletter. That's where you'll get updates, where you'll get what's going on. You'll get the news first. You don't have to wait until I announce it or hear. Okay. And lastly, well, second to last, please make sure that you share this with at least 10 people. We are trying to reach 100,000 downloads this year, and every subscription, every share counts. So we need it. We need you to send it out to your peoples so they can help us hit our goal this year. Lastly, if you are not already following me on Instagram, you need to go on over there and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Until the next episode, see ya.